everyone to take a seat. Okay, is everyone ready? Can we start? Yeah? Okay, cool. So, hi, welcome everyone. Hi, Tom. You're smiling widely. Hi, Anna. Yeah, my name's Nat. Talia, Alan, hey. So I am not really an expert. I'm just a person who grew up in Haifa, and I wasn't even born there. I was born in the States, but I grew up in Haifa, and I am here to give you the perspective, the insider perspective today. And basically, yeah, I'm not a historian or anything like that. I work at Fakulty Nemocnice in Pilsen in an immunochemistry lab, but I'll give you my 2 pence or my 2 shekels, okay? So let's start with the very basic word, hasbara. Here it is in all its glory. Who can tell me what it means? Who knows what hasbara is? Talia knows, yeah? Anyone else? Yes, Tom? Jako vysvětlení spíš, ne? Vysvětlení, yeah? Like to explaining, yeah? So that's the meaning of the word, but is that what it really is? That's a question. And I would like to start by telling you a story about my friend, Shira, who wanted to come and talk today, but when she was told that she should give methods of countering hasbara and arguing, she said, no, I won't do that. Because you shouldn't even engage. Yeah? So we're going to do the workshop. We're going to talk about all of this and how to counter it. But it's really important to remember that it's completely fine not to engage with whoever is like dishing out propaganda that supports genocide. Because whatever they say, nothing can justify it, or, decades of occupation. So that's the first point I wanted to make. And here is my first slide. The real question is, to me anyway, when I encounter these talking points, do they even believe what they're saying? Do Zionists believe what they're saying? And the truth is, I do not know. Nobody knows. So I brought this example here. There was this terrible, maybe you've heard of it, Sdeteman is a detention facility. It's a terrible prison where Palestinians are tortured and raped. And there was a whistleblower. And she was blamed, a lawyer, in the military. Maybe you've heard of this. And the response to her telling everyone what went on there was this. This is another lawyer, and he says, the Nukhba terrorist from Sdeteman affair is the same terrorist who put the baby in the oven and raped his mother on October 7th. Do they believe this? First of all, there are over 10,000 Palestinians detained, many of whom are children. And I believe that many Israelis know this. So does it make sense that the one person about whom it was revealed that they were raped in a brutal way and they were sent back to Gaza, does it make sense that that's the same person who, first of all, no babies were put in the oven, but that is the person who put babies in the oven? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I don't think it even makes sense to Israelis. Yeah? So that's really just driving home my first point, that this is like collective psychosis. They can come at you with all the history they like and all this, but really they don't really believe what they're saying. Yeah? But let's get into it. So how do you explain it? So like the logic behind Hasbara, or the way it is explained to Israelis, is that if only the world understood, you know, it's all a failure in understanding. Yeah? If only they understood why we have to kill all these people and violate all these human rights, the world would stand with us. That's the sort of logic that is like on the surface believed in Israel. But I believe, and I won't be the first person to say this, that Zionism is like a cult. It's like a sect. And if you look at literature to do with cults and sects, you see that the way they treat the truth is very similar to the way truth is treated in Zionism. So for example, one of the quotes I have here says that milieu control. It involves the control of information and communication both within the environment and ultimately within the individual, resulting in a significant degree of isolation from society at large. So this is about the person who's in a cult. But Israel is a country in the world. And the fact that they kind of have this weird logic that they buy into or pretend to buy into has isolated them from the world. They kind of no longer share the same logic. Just the same way that sect members are difficult to reach psychologically, yeah? So what truth is heavily influenced by the fact that they are isolated, and from a very young age, from birth, they only hear jargon. They don't hear like real words. They don't hear the word Palestinian. You know, they don't hear the word Palestine, they hear Arab instead. We'll get into that. So I kind of think that we can theorize that Hasbara is actually a loyalty test. Like I meet another Israeli and they're testing me. Am I going to agree with what is an obvious lie? Yeah? And if I don't agree, I pay a price. Like in a sect, like in a cult. Oh, it's a baby. So let's get into how this has been made possible. So this is some of the jargon that I mentioned. And some of it is will be familiar to you. Like, for example, collateral damage, right? So like when Gazans are killed, it's just collateral damage. It's not people killed. It's just a side effect of something that had to be done. Like when they say purify an area, let's test you. What does this mean? What's to purify an area?
Ethnically cleanse.
Ethnically cleanse, right? Also the trees, like purify. Yeah, take a village. So like, as I said, they never hear the word Palestine almost. It's referred to as the territories, or Judea and Samaria, Arabs, you know. Often you hear about preventive strikes, which are actually an offensive act framed as protection. So like, if you live in Israel, that's all you hear, and the language influences the way you perceive things. From a very young age, there's lots of ceremonies. So for example, there's a very heavy emphasis on the Holocaust. This is called March of the Living, where Israeli high school students go to Poland, to Auschwitz and Birkenau, and they wrap themselves in flags, and it's kind of like re-traumatizing them. Like they will even put them in, you know, some people told me that they were put in gas chambers just to simulate what the feeling is, and like, or in a hole in the ground, or in a train carriage, just kind of to simulate what it was like to be in the Holocaust. So Israeli kids are sort of re-traumatized. Even children whose parents or grandparents are from Arab countries, and they did not go through the Holocaust, but it's sort of appropriated as trauma, collective trauma. So So this is like a memorial service. This is on television all the time, you know, soldiers, songs. There's a huge emphasis on the families who have lost people in wars. All of that is considered very, very sacred, very, very taboo to sort of talk about in any other way but as sacred. Now, of course, you gain something from going to the military. And your later status in society depends on your military service. So if you go to a certain unit, you're then sort of promised a job in high tech, where you get a lot of money, yeah? Like there is a very strict hierarchy within the military, and whatever job you get in the military will then influence your civilian life. So it doesn't really pay off if you're an Israeli civilian not to go to the military. I mean, I didn't go, and I didn't get a job. I couldn't get a job in anything. I had to leave. Like it was much easier, you know, so it pays off. And as any Israeli who has turned ex-Israeli or anti-Zionist will tell you, you're excommunicated. I think like anyone you speak to will tell you that you lose family, you lose friends. We have all lost family, we have all lost friends. There's a huge price you pay if you turn against Zionism. So I think that maybe this goes a long way to explain why people actually buy into this sort of lies and pretend to believe things they might not even believe, etc., this whole system. Okay. The thing I think people from the outside world perhaps do not understand completely is that Zionism is not one thing. Okay? This is what I call 50 shades of Zionism. Okay? On the one hand, we have Ben Gvir and the settlers. It's very clear what they are about. There's this here. They're murderers. They're into murdering people. Yeah? But then you have a lot of Zionists who say the word peace an awful lot. Peace, peace. We want peace. So I brought Haaretz, which is, well, I mean, it is kind of a left-leaning newspaper. It's probably the best newspaper within Israel, but it's still like insidiously sort of keeping the status quo. It still very sneakily brings in the Zionist agenda. This is called liberal Zionism. Yeah? So I gave you two examples here. Haaretz ran an opinion piece, and it was some psychiatrist who was giving his opinion on the genocide. What did he say? He said, when people have an unconscious need for guilt, yeah? The genocide isn't happening. We just want to feel guilty. It's part of our neurosis. You know, Freud, psychotherapy, kind of like using all of that kind of stereotype maybe to explain why the genocide isn't real. This was in a left-leaning newspaper. And then the other thing I came across recently, sponsored by Israeli donations, a village is built for Gaza's orphan children. Doing something good for the Gazans. Now you read this article, and there is a line there that says, and these children will be re-educated for peace. Now that is kind of disturbing, isn't it? We killed their parents, and now we can re-educate them. Yeah, and that's the left-leaning Zionism. So it's not one thing. And when you go out there and you meet Israelis, you will meet Israelis who talk about peace and coexistence, but they don't necessarily want to dismantle the apartheid. They don't necessarily want to end the occupation. So somebody saying the word peace a lot is actually, after these 2 years of genocide, for me it rings alarm bells. I just can't listen to people who say the word peace too much anymore, because it's really, really sneaky. So, and of course there are liberal Zionists in America. You know, there's Friedman and the New York Times. It's all over the place. It's not just Israel, but yeah. just to make you aware of liberal Zionism. And now we're going to shortly go through the types of Zionism. And I thought that the Czech Republic and governmental Hasbara
feminist. We're freedom fighters. They're fighting for their land, and I'm fighting for my right to purple hair. What the fuck? It's like a girl in a really toxic relationship. I know you don't like him because he kidnaps and murders people, but trust me, when I'm alone with him, he is such a sweetheart. I'm sorry, if your reaction to people being
the same values that Israel supposedly has as opposed to the region. Her name is not Tishbi. About it or anything. But if you notice the look, it's very Christian. And why is that? Because there are so many Zionists who are evangelical Christians. You know, those Americans who like a good housewife with really straight hair and a really kind of clean, tidy look. That's what she's going for. So her audience is not Israelis. Her audience, I think, is Americans. Let's hear what she has to say for herself.
An invitation to Zohar Maldani to come visit Israel. We want to take Zohar to the young adults neighborhood in Palestine. We want to show him around and what it's like. We want to take him to the Opet. We want to take him to Nova. We want to take him to visit the 20% Israeli Arab Palestinians that live within Israel that have full equal rights in Israel. We want to take Zohar Maldani to gay pride in Tel Aviv. The largest gay pride in the entire Middle East. We want to show him Israel. We want to show him the real Israel. Real Israel, Zohar Maldani, not some invented fabrication of your imagination, a place that you have never, ever been to, and a place that you're calling to cease be a Jewish state. We're inviting Zohar Maldani to come visit Israel, the only Jewish state in the world, which will remain a Jewish state, which gives freedom and equal rights to every single one of its citizens, because Zionism, Zohar Maldani, Zionism is the Jewish people's right to self-governance and self-determination in parts of their ancestral land in a Jewish, not an exclusively Jewish state.
Jewish, not exclusively.
Thank you.
Right. She's even like strangely, she's even in a kind of church. It looks, to me, it looks like a church. Maybe it's not, but I mean, definitely her audience is like Christian Americans, I'd say. So yeah, it's important to remember that there's inwards facing Hasbara and outwards. So when Bibi Netanyahu talks about the Bible and destroying Amalek, which is like the enemy, he's talking to Israelis. But when Bibi Netanyahu says like, Israel targets Hamas, not civilians, or Hamas is ISIS, then he's probably talking to the outside world. And I think throughout these 2 years, we have seen that simply like whatever gets said in Hebrew does not get said in English. Whatever gets written in Hebrew does not get written in English. There's two types of Hasbara, yeah? And there's an overlap between those two types, and the overlap is the Holocaust, right? Both Israeli Jews and Jews in the diaspora are threatened by the notion of the Holocaust and of being exterminated, supposedly again. So, so that's types of Hasbara. And now, because this is a workshop, I thought we can just brainstorm common strategies, how to react to common strategies. I'm going to let you do the work. And how much longer do I have?
It's done.
It's done. Okay.
But this is let's do it.
Okay, but let's do a few, okay? I don't know, choose one. Choose one you like. Tell me what you would say to it. What about this? This is a really, really common one. What about Syria? What about Russia? What about China? What about Sudan? This is super common. What would you say to this?
This is basically downplaying the horror actions of them.
Okay.
Why do you have focus on us and not somewhere else?
That's what they're doing. But what would you reply to someone who says such a thing to you?
One bad doesn't make the other bad good thing.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Actually, there is a big difference in those topics because we Czechs usually protest the behavior of our government, which is obviously not supporting the atrocities in Sudan, in all those places. In difference, in Israel, we are fully on board with Zionism.
Talia?
Yeah, I just wanted to offer something, the perspective, like if you're someone who is still quite connected to the Israeli perspective, which is like pretty much all of the responses we've seen here seem to assume that's true. Like, why single out Israel when blah blah blah? Like, the responses we've seen here, do you assume we do single out Israel, which is in fact not true. Like the very weak, let's call it a ceasefire, but it's not really a ceasefire with Israel continuing to bomb but the very week the ceasefire was signed and given into effect, there was a march here in support of people in Sudan. And I remember like the leftist bloc in the Prague march here like protested against Sudan and Israel and capitalism in general. So like Israel and Israelis very much have a main character syndrome. Like we saw that with Zoran Mandani. Why would the mayor of New York bother to go to another country rather than focus on New York? And why does a mayoral election in another country take like front pages in newspapers in Israel? It's because like that's part of the narrative. Like the fact that people allegedly only talk about Israel is itself hasbara. So like, why do you single out Israel? We don't. Like that's just not true. You're just thinking of yourself as the main character, so you don't notice anything else.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's also true. Yeah. And one of the reasons that the UN supposedly focuses on Israel more is simply that it's been going on for decades. So the UN is a body that is supposed to give diplomatic tools for dealing with something like the occupation. So they do have repeated appeals against Israel. But, well, I mean, what has the UN ever done really against Israel? Yeah, so nothing.
Plus, it has this responsibility. It was the UN where there was who came with the partition plan to partition Palestine.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, anything else about this? Or?
What I actually run into the most is, well, I don't understand it, it's complicated, and I don't want to pick a side. Yeah. This is only I know history. And
it's complicated.
It's the opposite claim of that, but
well,
the effect is similar.
Right. So
I don't know history, or you don't know history. It's just the same.
You don't know what's going on here. It's complicated. Yeah. Like, anybody wants to try this? What would you say to this?
It's not that complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it actually follows the contours of a lot of other colonial stories in history. It's not that dissimilar to other colonial entities. I mean, I think that for Israelis who are born in Israel, it's unimaginable that this is not their home. But if you look at French people who were born in Algeria, I'm sure they felt the same way. And French people thought of Algeria as France. They really did. So it's really not that different. It's not that different. Maybe the only thing they can say is different is that there's no one country that Israelis can go back to. The French had France. Yeah, so there's a bit of a difference there, but it still like follows the sort of narrative of a colonial entity. Yes, Tom?
I think it's a good point that many people maybe don't know that Israel has always been consistently on the side of colonizers. In South Africa, in Honduras, like the partnership with South Africa got the nuclear bomb from them. They introduced television on the advice of the Israelis. So that's something that some people might not know, but that's a good example. It's actually easy. It's colonization, and they've shown their colors all along.
Helped with the genocide in Guatemala against the Mayan people in 70s and many other genocides.
Okay, and I don't want. Yes, sir.
You can add something. Like sometimes I come to like people who, in relation to what you said, they sometimes claim that this was the good side, right? Because like the people needed to be like colonized, educated, they were poor or they were communists or whatever. So you need to sometimes like explain that, like colonization is not good. Sometimes there is kind of like latent racism.
Yeah. I very much grew up with this. Like my family, they were not big Zionists, but they would say, like my grandparents, who really, they didn't want to come to Israel. They wanted to go to Australia, and Australia wouldn't take them. But even they would say, like, oh, without us, there would be potato fields here. What potatoes? This is a Polish person projecting into the Middle East and seeing potatoes. Yeah, there would be no potato fields in Haifa. But this is what I grew up with. This is what we used to say. Yeah, that's true.
Plus, it was the opposite, actually, because the European Jews were prevented before from actually being in agriculture and owning land and so on. So it was the Palestinians, of course, who were teaching them how to work the land. And there are many.
Yeah.
If you read through the diaries of the Zionists, they actually talk about it. And it's logic, of course.
We are city people. I don't even have plants at home. Really, like, we are city people, yes. Okay, I don't want to take up too much time, so let's just choose one, and I'll let Salim speak. Which one's your favorite one?
Maybe fake, because I came along some AI videos and stuff from people supporting Palestine actually, and I found that very tricky. Do you know about that? Like, some people use AI and show like.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point.
So
yes.
It's blurring also.
Yes.
The reality. I mean, of course, there are a lot of footage that are true, like most of them, but it also exists some.
It's true, and like there are good meaning people, well-meaning people who then post something that was made by AI by mistake, and that sort of casts a shadow on everything they say. That's true. AI makes it tricky. Talia, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, like my approach to that is like, there's what essentially Israeli propaganda tends to treat literally anything other than other Israeli propaganda as false. So it doesn't matter if like it's videos on social media or the BBC, they would treat that as false, which is why the way I usually counter it is like with stuff the IDF itself has said, like, the IDF never disputed the number of people killed, like, that are stated by the Gaza Health Ministry. Like, never. That's the actual numbers they use themselves.
Yeah.
That internal reports can trace back, I don't remember what's exactly the number, but like I think it was like 17% of like people killed by, like people who killed for whom we have names, to actual members of Hamas, and even members of Hamas is like quite expensive because like if you're the agricultural minister in Gaza, you're a member of Hamas. But like when you can present that like even the IDF itself doesn't dispute those numbers. So are you saying the IDF is lying against itself?
Because they confirmed it.
Yeah.
Even higher number than.
The IDF currently agrees with the 68,000 killed by direct assaults number.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not disputed.
Yep.
Yeah, but on the Czech TV and everywhere, you will just get, when they speak about the casualties, they always put in front that it's
Hamas health
Hamas
ministry.
terrorist organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Numbers, and that's this dehumanizing Hasbara totally.
Okay, I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to finish with the final message. Feel free not to engage with Hasbara. There is no argument that can justify genocide. So blocking people or ignoring them, I think, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You're welcome. And Salim, you're... There you go, and you can, start from this. Nemusíme to vyměnit? Jo, jasně. So, Salim, I need to give you this.
Thank you.
This goes in the pocket and this goes on here. So you do like from clean slide or from beginning, yes. There you go.
Thank you. Right, so friends and people of conscience. In the early days, politicians used to sell the dreams and promises. But then a time came when people stopped buying those promises and dreams. And then they came up with another idea of selling fear. Then they started selling fear to people. Okay, there are some people who don't look like you. They are very dangerous. They want to kill you. They want to come here and kill you. And we are the one you need to save you from those people. They started selling fear. And then they started selling fear through a salesman. It's called media. So media acted like a salesman for those people who wanted to sell the fear. Okay? Now, remember this thing. Now, I need a volunteer. Anyone who would like to come here, please. One volunteer, anyone, please. So here is the door, and we need to go inside the room. Someone else is there, and we need to knock the door to go in. Would you please knock the door? Thank you very much. So now, please, that's all. Thank you. Right. So the society in which we live in and we observe through our senses makes or programs our mind. For example, I asked to knock the door, and what happened is my friend needed to lift the hand to knock it, or usually we knock it like this also. Do you realize the door is everywhere? When I'm standing in front of the door, I don't really need to raise my hand to knock it. For example, I'm in front of the door and I can just knock it like this also. I don't really have to lift the door. I lift my hand to knock the door. So it's our observation. We see people doing this and we follow it. It's our mental programming. Nothing wrong about that. Now, there is outside world which we cannot see. For example, what's happening in Japan, we cannot see now. The information comes through the salesman. What was the salesman?
Media.
Media. And media was the salesman for whom? The owner or the politician who wanted to sell fear. Right? Remember this. Now, I will come down to my topic. You need to remember how media programs that I will show you now. I want you to tell me what causes Islamophobia, especially in the Europe. What's the cause of Islamophobia? Are there any organizations which are linked to Islam, which causes Islamophobia? Are there any events which happened which cause Islamophobia? Please. Al-Qaeda, amazing. Any other?
I would say it's connected to xenophobia because people don't know the proper teachings of Islam.
Exactly, we will come down to that, but they don't know the true teachings of Islam, but what do they know which they link to Islam? Like Al-Qaeda, anything else? History?
Stereotypes.
Sorry? Stereotypes, okay. So, terrorist attacks, for example? 9/11. Okay, so let's say people hate Islam or there is Islamophobia because of certain organizations. We call them Al-Qaeda, ISS, Taliban, you name them. And then because of certain events which happened in the world, just like 9/11. And how did we come to know about those terrorist attacks and all this information? It's out of our social circles. How did we get to know about those things?
Media.
Through the salesman, which is media. But we don't know whether media is lying to us or they are telling us the truth. Let's see if they are telling us the truth or they are lying to us, whether Islam has any connection to those organizations or to those events which happened, or it's just the salesman which is lying to us. Now we will talk about the organizations. There is Islamophobia because of the organizations, certain organizations and certain events which happened. The organizations are mostly like we say ISS, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Mujahideen, this and that, right? But when we carefully look at those organizations, we see that US has a big role in creation and supporting of those jihadi organizations. And they support them through arming, training, and funding them, printing their material. And while doing this, they use certain other countries also. Unfortunately, my own country, Pakistan also. There is a huge program, it's called USAID. I remember I saw it everywhere. They use their funding to print certain material to prepare these organizations, or Mujahideen they call themselves, and whatnot. So when we carefully look at these resources, so I have put down the sources also, please go and check them out. For example, one important source is US National Security Decision Directive 12, which is declassified 1981. Here you will see how they make their propaganda, like how we are going to work. And all of the sources are there. Please go and check them out. Especially there is a book by Chalmers Johnson which is called Blowback, in which Chalmers Johnson talks about what you are going to other countries now, it will come back to you. The reaction will come back and you will suffer, so don't do it. So please go and check them out, these resources. What is the outcome of this funding these kind of organizations which call themselves Muslims? It causes the emergence of ISS, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, and then eventually the destabilization of Middle East, right? So that's there. You have the sources, and here I also put few sources. We will share this presentation. Please go and check them out. Here is one source from Yana also. She also did an amazing work. I read it. It's in super detail. You will get to know those organizations which are the cause of Islamophobia, whether they are Islamic or not. Next is Israel's covert support for extremist groups. There are some other incidents also in which we see, for example, there is one incident of Baghdad synagogue bombing. So what happened is Israelis wanted the Jewish people to leave other lands and come to new Israel. Okay, they wanted Jewish people to come so that they can expand, increase their number and whatever. So there was bombing in Baghdad in the synagogues. When we look through the lenses of salesmen, who is the salesman? Media. We think, okay, it's happening on the synagogues, it's anti-Semitic, it's against Jewish people. Whoever is doing this, it's horrendous. It shouldn't happen. The terrorists are doing this. But when we look at the sources, who is behind them, we find out that Mossad is behind it. They are doing it to sort of push their people to leave those countries by even destroying their places of worship. Now they have no option. They will sign up and leave. The biggest source for this one is, please check them out, this book by Avishlam, 3 Worlds, in which he shares the story of an Arab Jew who was living in Baghdad. He shares this story of how they use this thing for us to leave Baghdad and come to Israel. Okay, and then right now, recently we saw a report from CNN whereby it states that the Israelis are arming the extremist groups in Gaza to kind of fight Hamas or whatever, but they admitted they are funding extremist organizations. But that's what they always do. That's what they always do. Do you know the ISS? They are terrorists. I don't want them to attack on any country. But do you know ISS never attacked Israel? And even it protects the borders of Israel. It's always around the borders of Israel, attacks Muslims, but never attacks Israel. But salesman tells us they are Muslims and want to kill who? The Jews. So salesman is lying to us. We need to look the resources carefully, the sources. But the thing is, not everyone goes and checks up the sources to find out these things, and then they end up believing in this thing. There is another propaganda of war on terror. You have source of General Wesley Clark. Please go watch his interview in which he speaks extensively how they planned it to go into the Middle East and kind of occupy in a way 7 Muslim countries or 7 Muslim majority countries, okay? And he asked them, is it because we are going there because it's somehow linked to 9/11? And they said no. And he asked, but why are we going there in the Pentagon? And they said, we don't know. But media will tell us that it's the war on terror. There are certain people in other part of the world who don't look like you. They want to come here and kill you. And we need to protect you from those people. So it's an utter lie. And how do they do it? It's very difficult for a common person to get to know the small use of wording which they do. For example, here you see the story of BBC News. Can you tell me the difference between this one? Right now I am talking about the left one. Anyone would like to tell me the difference in these two? Sorry?
The narrative.
What is the narrative?
Well, there are no humans in the second case.
Okay.
This one, yes.
Okay. In the first one there are humans, but in the second one not. Anything else?
Not written who is the author in the second row.
Amazing. So here we can see 5 killed by Russian strikes in central Ukraine. But when it comes to Gaza, just an air strike on Gaza school kills at least 6 people. Who did it? The first one you can see it's clearly mentioned, Russian. In the second one, why didn't they mention Israeli airstrikes? because they don't want us to know about these things. And these are the words which they play with. Here is the second example on the right. Ukraine war versus Gaza war. How do they put up the headlines? For example, Children's Hospital hit as Russian strike killed dozens in Ukraine. But here they say Israeli strike, thank God this time they took the name, on UN school in Gaza reportedly killed at least 35. What's the difference in these two?
It's not sure.
It's not sure. The first one they reported as a fact. The second one, can you see the word? Reportedly. Not a fact, like it's just reported. So when we listen to the things reportedly, sometimes we come up, maybe it could be a wrong report also.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, exactly. Thank you very much. Allegedly. So now, do you remember the politicians who used to sell the dreams and promises, and then they started selling the fear of some people, and media, which is the salesman, was working for them, and that's how they do. But when they do this and people see the news from the salesman, then this happens. They come out and talk about Islam in a way as if they are experts in Islam and they know about Islam. But then this happens. Please listen carefully. Once more, please. That's my favorite. Once more. Maybe she will tell this time. So she is protesting that I don't want halal. And someone from us goes there and asks her, what is halal? And she don't know what is halal. Believe me, this is the situation. When I asked what are the causes of Islamophobia, one of my friends said, because they don't know about Islam. That's my case also. People don't know about Islam. You know about Islam only through the lenses of media. But media is just the salesman of someone else who wants to put fear in your mind that, okay, there is something bad about it and they are coming for you and this and that. These are the experts on Islam. We don't know anything. They know better than us. Right. So this was about those organizations, which was the cause of Islamophobia. But if we take out those organizations and incidences, for example, 9/11, we will decode 9/11 on some other time, who was behind it and how this happened. Then there is no cause of Islamophobia. There is no reason of Islamophobia, but people still do it. Now I want to talk about Islam. What are the teachings of Islam, the real Islam, which media will of course not show you. But before I do that, because we are going to talk about Islam, religion, I went through this journey whereby I was a little bit away from religion, and I understand how it feels when you talk to an atheist or agnostic about religion. It's totally useless. And there might be some people who are atheist and agnostic, so I don't want to talk about religion without sharing this story. So in a mother's womb, there were two babies. First baby asked the second one, do you think there is life after birth? To which the second baby replies, maybe yes, there is a life after birth. To which the first says, it's ridiculous. What kind of life it could be after birth? The second one replies, well, maybe it's just different from here, which we cannot understand now. Maybe we will have legs to walk on. Maybe we will have our mouth to eat with. Maybe we will not need this spinal cord anymore. To which the first replies, it's totally useless. What you are talking about is useless. What are we going to do there? To which the second one replies, maybe there is mom which will take care of us. The second one replies, okay, but we cannot see mom. It's ridiculous you are talking about mom. She is not there. There are no evidences she is there. To which the second replies, maybe mom is everywhere. We cannot just comprehend it. Maybe we just need sometimes to calm down and feel it. Maybe mom is everywhere. You know what I'm talking about. Now I will go to Islam. If you didn't get it, please ask me about it. Now I will tell you what actually Islam teaches without the lenses of salesman. I want you to focus on this line, please, because I get it so much. I have been doing this since 2018, and there are many experts in Islam who come and quote this verse a lot, because they don't do their own research, and whatever they see on mainstream media or social media, they just try to utter the same words. What they say to me is, well, it's mentioned in their book that kill them wherever you find them, or kill them wherever you come upon them. And then I ask them, could you please complete this verse or tell me what it says before this verse or after this verse? And believe me, I asked it 1,000 times and no one answered it. Because they don't know. They just pick up one small sentence and project it all over Islam. But what actually these verses say is, if you look at it, it's in the chapter 2, verse 190, it talks about fight in the cause of Allah only against those who wage war against you. But do not exceed the limit. Allah doesn't like the transgressors. Kill them wherever you come upon them and drive them out of the places from which they have driven you out. But if they cease, then surely Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. Fight against them if they persecute you. If they persecute you, until there is no more persecution and your devotion will be to Allah alone. If they stop persecuting you, let there be not hostility except against the aggressors. So this is just one example. If you go and read the Quran, you will not find a single place whereby it's allowed in Islam to initiate a war. We are not allowed to initiate a war. But if someone imposes a war on us, then we are obliged to do the self-defense. We are obliged to fight those people who are fighting against us. But while fighting, but before I go, what we need to consider, the things which we need to consider while we are fighting those people who inflicted war upon us, there is a general rule in Islam. It's chapter 5, verse 32, which mentions, whoever kills a soul, unless for a soul or for corruption in the land, it is as if he had slain mankind entirely. And whoever saves one, it is as if he had saved entirely. It talks about the entire world. So in Islam, it's very clear. If you kill any innocent person, it is as if you have killed the whole humanity. And if you save any person, it is as if you have saved whole of the humanity. Then again we come down to the situation whereby we are allowed to fight, but only on those situations when the war is imposed on us. While fighting, what we are not supposed to do. Islam also forbids us, gives us the clear line in which we need to fight. What we are not allowed to do during the war. Look at this. So this is the Islamic ruling during the war. So when we are fighting with someone who imposed war on us in the self-defense, we are not allowed to kill women. We are not allowed to cut down the trees. We are not allowed to kill the sick. We are not allowed to kill the children. We are not allowed to kill any elderly people. We are not allowed to demolish the buildings, the churches, the synagogues, the prayer places of other religions. We are not allowed to kill those priests and preachers who preach about other religion, we are not allowed to do all these things. The only people which we are allowed to kill is those who are fighting against us. Okay? And then if those people stop fighting against us, we cannot fight with them anymore. We also need to stop. Okay? Tell me a moral code in this world which is better than this one, I'm willing to leave Islam. If there is a moral code which is better than this one, please.
I'm sorry, I'm atheist and I live on this. So you don't need to be religious to live normal.
Exactly. That's a very good point.
It's not just about the religion, it's about your
Moral code.
Moral codes. Exactly. I do understand. But here we are talking about Islamophobia. You are an atheist, but you are not an Islamophobe also, right? If there is a Muslim, you don't have any problem living side by side. Exactly, amazing. But now we are talking about those narratives which salesman sells to people, which causes Islamophobia. That's why I'm not saying atheists are not like peaceful people or they don't. I'm not arguing about that. I'm just presenting my case. That's what I believe in.
But this is why I told you that Islamophobia comes from history as well. Look at the books which we are taught in the school.
Exactly, so it's print media.
Like here in Europe.
Yeah, so media.
It is in Pakistan.
Exactly, so the media includes everything. Mainstream media, which we see on the TV, the print media, through the radio, it includes everything. So we are not allowed to kill anyone who is not fighting us. Now, as we always study the Islam so critically, and we try to pick and choose things from Islam, the corpus of Islam, I have studied other religions also, like Judaism, Christianity and stuff. But there are certain passages which were disturbing for me. For example, I wanted the answers, no one answered me. Maybe they can answer someday, but I didn't find the answer yet. I wanted to put up and share it, few of my own points, just like I put up for the Islam, but I think it's better if I show you the video of an Israeli Jew who will tell you.
Hi everyone, my name is Kobe. I was born and raised Jewish in Israel.
Can't hear it.
Today I want to talk about something.
Can't hear it.
Huh?
Can't hear it.
Can't hear it. Is it possible to read the subtitles? Is it?
Do we have only and this is on maximum?
Is it the maximum? This is the maximum.
No, you have the Bluetooth speaker. It's voice.
You have it.
I have the Bluetooth speaker, yes. I don't know. Try to connect it.
Mm-hmm. Please.
Maybe here?
Yeah, please. Anyways, who was the salesman? Media. It's so big that people still have effect on it. So in the meantime, I can talk about a couple of things. For example, we were talking about halal. What's the meaning of Allah? Is it connected?
Yes.
You don't want me to talk about it? Anyways, we will just go back to.
No sound.
No sound.
Born and raised Jewish in
Amazing.
Israel. Today I want to talk about... Hi everyone, my name is Kobe. I was born and raised Jewish in Israel. Today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind. Why do we only hear about anti-Semitism, but never about anti-Goyism, as taught in the Talmud? So what is anti-Goyism? It's a term that refers to prejudice or hostility by Jews towards non-Jews, often rooted in religious or cultural teachings.
In the context of the Talmud, it includes passages that some interpret as promoting the idea that Goyim, non-Jews, are inferior or even enemies. The Talmud, which is our central text, contains passages that some interpret as promoting anti-Goyism. For instance, in the Babylonian Talmud, Tractate Avodah Zarah 26b, it said, even the best of the Gentiles should be killed. Another example in Avodah Zarah 36b, it says, the daughters of idolaters, non-Jews, are in state of nidah, which means filth, from birth. The Sanhedrin 82a, whoever cohabits with a Gentile woman, zealots may strike him. And in the Tosafot commentary on Avodah Zarah 26b, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, the best of the Gentiles kill him. Let's also talk about Jesus in the Talmud. He is referred to as Yeshu and is portrayed as a sorcerer and a deceiver. In Sanhedrin 107b, it is discussed that Jesus was stoned and hanged on the eve of Passover, portraying him as a false prophet and a sorcerer. Now, I've searched and I couldn't find any derogatory references to Jews in the Christians or Muslim texts. It seems that while we have these teachings in the Talmud, other religions don't have similar derogatory views about Jews. And I just want to be clear, anti-Semitism is real, but so is anti-Goyism. Both are forms of bigotry that need to be addressed. It's time to have an honest conversation about all forms of prejudice, not just ones that suit our Jewish narrative. So could it be that anti-Semitism is, in a way, Jewish karma for being a racist religion? I don't know. I think so. That's a heavy question, but one worth considering. If we acknowledge the derogatory views in our own texts, maybe we can start to understand the cycle of prejudice and work towards breaking it. So next time you hear about anti-Semitism, remember to ask, what about anti-Goyism? Let's talk about both, because true justice means recognizing all forms of discrimination, no matter where they come from.
Well, he is taking all of my time. So that's there. So when I read the text from certain books of certain religion, they have questions about Islam to which we have no problem. You can ask anything. Even in the question answer or the discussion section, if you would like to ask, throw the hardest, the best point you have against Islam. We will try to answer. But when we ask questions, firstly, they don't even let us ask question, but when we ask question, they should also answer us. Now, Natalie talked about evangelical Zionists, evangelical Christians, which are Zionists. I'm not against any religion, but because I have studied these religions, so I come across the stuff which I want to share. Now we are talking about Old Testament. In 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 3, it says, now go attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. I wonder what the donkeys did. So it's mentioned, I have asked so many people, the pastors, to please explain it to me. No explanation. Media will never show us this. I also didn't want to show this, but because we are talking about Islamophobia, I just wanted to critically read out the other scriptures also. Then we listen from evangelical Christians, oh, Islam is bad, but Jesus came to spread love, right? If we go and read Gospel of Luke, chapter 19, verse 17, it says, but those enemies of mine who did not want me to be king over them, bring them here and kill them in front of me. According to Gospel of Luke chapter 19 verse 27, Jesus is speaking, but we don't believe in it. We don't think Jesus would have preached such a thing, but it's mentioned, they have to answer us. Then we go down to Matthew chapter 10 verse 34. These are just few of the examples. I can talk about them for hours and hours. Think not that I have come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. according to Gospel of Matthew, these are the words of Jesus Christ. We don't believe in it as a Muslim. We don't believe he would have preached such a thing. But if it's mentioned, then please answer us. Or show us anything like this in the Islamic exegesis. We are willing to engage with it. Or show me something like this, I am willing to leave Islam. That's a bold claim. Now, when it comes to Quran, what does Quran says about Prophet Muhammad? We have sent you, O Prophet, only as a mercy for the whole world. That's the true teaching of Islam. Prophet Muhammad came as a mercy to whole of the world. Let's move forward. Now we will talk about dehasbarization, hasbara, their claims, and how to tackle those claims. Natali talked about it. I will also touch upon few points. I still have 8 minutes. Right, so there is a very famous claim which we hear over and over and over again, that it started on October the 7th. But we need to understand that it started with the Nakba in May 1948. That's one point. But when we mention 1948, because it's kind of old stuff, no one seems to care about it. Or because we use it over and over again, it seems like it just lost the value, no one cares about it. But you don't need to go that much back to 1948 to let them know that it didn't start on October the 7th. We can show them a report which was published on 18th of September 2023 by an organization which was Rescue Children, which says they killed 38 Palestinian children in 1948, before October the 7th, just in 1948, sorry?
23, you mean?
38.
38?
Yeah, it's the report
No,
from...
I mean the year.
Yeah, of course, in 2023, yeah, before October the 7th. So it was happening with the Palestinians all over. It's not that it started all of a sudden on October the 7th, but they were killing innocent Palestinians, even children, even in the same year. So it continued. But if you go historically, it happened so many times. For example, in May 1948, during the Nakba, 700,000 Palestinians were displaced. Then in 1967, 300 other Palestinians were displaced from their homes. Then, 300,000. Yeah, 300,000, exactly. And then with the infamous Sabra and Shatila massacre, more than 3,500 innocent Palestinians were being massacred in the refugee camps in the Beirut. Then it continued through the second intifada from 2000 to 2005. Then it continued with several wars on Gaza from 2008 to 9, 2012, 2014, 2021. But no, they will tell us it started on October the 7th. We don't have to read history before that. But please remember this date, September 18, 2023, and a report from the organization called Rescue Children, which says they were killing even in 2023 also.
Can I just add, there is actually, maybe more people will know, the Human Rights Watch organization. They have the same report also, I think with this number 38, maybe even more, 45 I think was the number.
Yeah.
But yeah, they documented, and the report is there from August 23, yeah.
So you see, it's happening, like it was happening all the way, so it didn't suddenly start. When you're oppressing people, I don't know, I don't want to talk about it more. Anyways, let's talk about few other stuff. For example, when we talk about Israel or its policies, they say it's anti-Semitism. They say anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, which is not. Okay, so when we are attacking Israelis, it means Israeli policies. We are attacking Jews, it's anti-Semitic. But when someone talks about Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, 56 Muslim countries, are they doing Islamophobia or not? So if attacking a country, the policies of a country, it's called anti-Zionism, it's Semitism, if it's linked with a specific religion, then maybe talking about the bad policies of Muslim countries, we can also say it's Islamophobia. But we shouldn't say it, and they also shouldn't say it that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. That's the second point. Now there are a few other points. For example, they say Israel is fighting for the hostages. Now the hostages are released, they are still fighting. So they used hostages as an excuse to carry on their war, genocide on Gaza. And the fact of the matter is, whenever there were negotiations for the hostages, they killed all the negotiators. And they have history of killing the negotiators. For example, there was a nuclear weapon negotiator, his name is Ali Shamkhani, they killed him. Hania was doing the negotiations in Iran, they killed him. Recently, you have seen an attack in Qatar. Which city was that? Doha. In Doha. They killed the negotiators there also. So when there are plans for the negotiations and they are killing the negotiators, what's the purpose behind it? The purpose is to carry on the genocide. So they never cared about the hostages. Second is Hamas uses civilians as a human shield. But we also see that Israeli snipers hit. There is a pattern that they hit the children in the head and in the skull. There is a pattern behind it. So how come sniper cannot differentiate between Hamas and a child? Another false claim, as they always do. Okay, another famous one which came out through salesman. Who was the salesman? Media. Hamas captured the babies and beheaded them, which was a false claim, and no one has taken down this. No one has taken down this claim. Even though now we know for a fact there were no beheaded babies, but they are still lying about it and don't want us to talk about other stuff.
Actually, there were just from other side.
From the other side, exactly. There were on the other side, but still we are, this salesman, it's so big that we are defending ourselves like their false claims about Islam. We are not defending Hamas or anyone, but we are defending because they linked everything to Islam. But on the other side, same day on October the 7th, there were on the other side. Yeah, we can talk about it some other time. And then there is another propaganda of the promised land. This one is very important. When you encounter the Czech Zionists, this one is very important. You ask them, do you believe in God? They say no. And why do Israelis have the right to live in Palestinian land? Why do they have the right for the Palestinian land? They say because it was promised to them by God. But you don't believe in God. So you see, there is a huge number of Zionists who don't believe in God, but they want us to believe that God promised that land to them. Does that make any sense? Okay, there is a strategy which I use whenever I am arguing an Islamophobe or Zionist or whatever. Please, you might have your strategies which are better than mine, but I just want to share mine. I let them spoil all their arguments. For example, when we are in confrontation with them through the arguments, they want to talk. Let them talk. Let them spoil their arguments and then start. Because they have some kind of sickness in their mind, they don't listen to other side until they go through and throw all of their points. So let them spoil their arguments. Once they are done, now they will not interrupt you. This one is very famous. So whenever you come across the Czech Zionists and they say the stories which are lie, tell them the stories which you are telling us, these are true, just like the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And many people seem to believe now, okay, there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. That was a lie. So if that was a lie, there could be other lies also. So just tell them whatever you say is true, just like the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Because whatever you guys say is the truth. That's my presentation. I finished, I guess, on time. I took some of the Natalie's time also. Thank you very much. Discussion, questions, anything. about dehasbarization, Islam, please shoot your questions. Anything which comes to your mind, please.
Yeah, it felt a bit weird to me that you are saying that you were a lot told this phrase from the Quran out of its context, and then when you're showing other sentence from other books of religion, it's short lines, so I believe there is a context.
Exactly, there is context, and please, I want you to go and find the context and let me know what's the context. So about.
But it just seems like you are saying something and then doing some similar things.
That's
so
very.
I wonder if it's an efficient way, because it didn't hit me personally.
No, that's very good point. That's very good point. That's why I said you should. I give you the verses. Please go and look into them. I looked into them and I asked. They didn't answer me. Maybe they will answer you. For example, which context do you think will justify when it says, now go enter into the Amalekites and kill everything that belongs to them? Put to death everything that belongs to them, even women, men and women, children and infants, camels and donkeys, sheep and camels and donkeys also. I don't know which context can justify it. And this is the verse which Netanyahu also quoted a few days back about the Amalekites.
But if on this presentation we would have seen only this sentence in the Quran that was like in yellow, it could also have been said around what justifies this, like kill everyone that is coming upon you. If we wouldn't have seen what is around, we could have said the same.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And I don't want to argue that the other religion are better. I'm not into that, but I'm also like, I don't know, my grandma is religious, for example, but so I know from her that there are different ways to interpret the book, and some people are like, yeah, I believe in God, but I'm not like, I'm going to do everything that is on this book. It's a very old book.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. No one should take anything out of context. I have put down the verses which were my questions, and I want you to do the research and correct me if I am wrong about that, or if I have taken those things out of context. Please correct me. I want to be corrected because no one seemed to answer me, especially about 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 3. That's a very valid point, I agree, but I cannot also put the whole chapter because I need to move on also.
I think it should be noted that there are prominent anti-Zionists who are Orthodox Jews and believers, yeah? I mean, they are... Yeah. So, I mean, they actually, Zionism is mainly secular, but religious Jews are against that because it's actually like many people interpret. I mean,
that was the historic position. I mean, religious Zionism in the history of the Zionist movement is relatively new. And originally, especially at the time of Herzl, but even up to the 50s, the main opposition to Zionism within Judaism was on religious grounds.
Yes. Religious Jews are not Zionists.
Exactly. All the Jews are not Zionists. Zionism is an ideology. Judaism is a religion. What I did is, by quoting these verses, I said there is critical passages which we can ask questions about. Are we allowed to ask questions? Because many people ask about Islam. So these are my questions which anyone can answer. I have studied these things. No one seemed to answer. That was my question. Any other suggestions, questions, please?
I'm just wondering, if talking of religion there in this for this genocide matter, isn't it doing in this game of this is a religious conflict? That's what you can hear, but it's about capitalism, it's about colonialism, it's about them, it's about oppression, it's about that, and it's not about religion. So it even makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. It's not about religion. But you're talking about Islamophobia. I get that. That's the point.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with you. I just want to address this point. I totally agree with you. You know, this salesman will tell us that these wars happen because of religion. These happen because of politics. But for certain people, they shape it because they are doing this because of their religion. That's why we need to address Islamophobia. And in the coming days, you will see it more and more with the immigration, and maybe we will talk about that also someday, about immigration. You will see it. This is the pattern of dehumanization. For example, these are the vicious people. They want to kill everyone. So we have to come out and say, sorry, Islam doesn't teach us that. The organizations which you are talking about, which claim to be Islamic, sorry, but you are supporting them. And they don't seem to act like Islam because it doesn't allow killing anyone other than the combatants who inflict war upon you. That's my point. I agree, the war is not because of religion, it's because of politics.
But I think religion is a one mean. They take it as a mean to justify the steps they do. So they just use it as one mean, not only one.
Are you talking about?
It's just one argument. They find some sentences in the Bible or Torah in somewhere just to justify what they want to do.
Are you talking about organizations? Are you talking about organizations or?
I mean about like Israeli government, for example.
Yeah. I agree.
Or the authorities.
Yes.
They just use something. They take something from the Bible to justify what is appropriate for their policy, and their policy is to eliminate Palestinians.
Exactly, and they shouldn't take those verses. They shouldn't bring religion in their propaganda, right? We agree on that. Please.
There's no shouldn't in propaganda. You use just anything that...
Sorry?
There's no shouldn't in propaganda. It's just, it uses anything that, comes...
Yeah, exactly. But propaganda can be positive also.
I'm not really sure if it's a question. I'm thinking about similar things. And I don't know how to phrase it, but I have this problem of like, as you were talking about Islam, and I can understand that, but I feel like in whichever religion you're talking about, there always can be a person who will, take something from the original book and use it for their means and twist the words. And maybe my question is like how to like react to that in general, because like some person will see, for example, Christianity as one thing, another person will see something completely different. So it's like, especially for me as an atheist, it's like I really don't know.
No, that's a very good point. That's very good point. People do take things out of context, and we are here to tell people that even if someone do something bad, they take out of context. What we can do is we cannot go and talk to those people who do the bad stuff, but we can educate people about the things which they are quoting. Actually, it doesn't say this. It doesn't say like this at all. So people do take things out of context, of course.
But I feel like maybe it's just hard to maybe like the zealousness or the devotion or something of the people. It's like I'm sorry. It's hard for me to like phrase what I mean, so, especially in English. So
no worries. You put a very nice point. I get you. Please, you want.
Just to add on, like as a very Muslim person, I do not engage in human rights debate with religion, mostly because, as someone has already pointed out, every single person will find a different thing to critique in each religion. Every person believes in spirituality differently, especially. I will engage with it if a person is willing to learn, but otherwise, when there's a debate about human rights specifically, and they try to bring religion into it, that this is because of the religion, I just don't engage with it. I'm just like, stop, please, just don't. I also don't like engaging with it, mostly because one of, like, I think the core pointers of how Islamophobia came to be was indeed colonialism, because they colonized us and they had to have this narrative of the savages. Who were the savages? Literally anyone who did not fit the European like narrative. And like we can forget about the fact that Christianity wasn't even white to begin with.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
But yeah, that's also like why I don't really like bringing religion into this, because religion at the end of the day, yes, we have like systems within them that could like ground our moral codex in terms of war, in terms of leading a state. But at the end of the day, people can form that same moral codex because also like in Islamic theory we're born with the fitra, right? So
True,
like
yeah.
we do have it kind of built in. But when it's like an exchange of powers, I don't think it's right to bring in spirituality into this. We can talk about the exchange of powers and why it's wrong.
Exactly. So that's another topic. That's another very good point which you mentioned about the colonization and stuff. So whenever we will talk about immigration, that time we will bring this up, because what you might have seen this thing also, that okay, these people are coming to our countries. Well, don't go to their countries. They will not come. When you will literally go and destroy the whole countries, what are they supposed to do? They will have to run for their life, and they will need to get settled somewhere. That's why they are coming. Just if they stop going to those countries, they will not come here. Very simple solution. There is no rocket science behind it. But yeah, I agree. While we are talking to the Zionists, we shouldn't bring the religion. For example, when I am talking to an atheist, I am not supposed to talk to him about religion. But for example, if Christian or Jew or anyone who comes and talks to me and makes it as if some people are doing bad stuff because of Islam, I have the right to defend.
No,
that's definitely.
Of course. But I would like defend it and then just say it's not a religious thing. Stop. Let's not.
Exactly. They want us to think that this is religious thing. But all the wars which are happening right now, it's because of power, because of politics, because of land.
And resources.
And resources, of course.
Oil.
Oil is like a big fitna kind of. Anyways, any other questions, or I will just let Yana.
I also think that just because you don't want to engage in it doesn't mean that no one else will.
Yeah, no.
And sometimes it's like your voice of an intelligent person that needs to little bit come in, and because some people, what I see in Czech especially, is people just, they just go to work, go home, turn on the TV, and just, okay, that's the reality of the world. And they don't go out of their way to, like our friend said, like, I don't like go and check the context, right? So if I understood correctly, like you don't necessarily go and search out the information and the context of every single thing like you said here, right? So in that way, I think just because like you take yourself out of that conversation does not necessarily bring a good thing always.
Yeah, it really depends.
There's no arguing with anything.
There is like several types of scenarios. I don't know if I can share this experience, but I've discussed like religion and human rights with multiple types of people, and the two prominent types are the ones that will not listen to me. Those I do not engage with. I'm just like I'm not gonna discuss human rights with a person who just is not willing to listen. But when I see that it's just a person who's misinformed, like you said, they go to work, they come home, turn on the TV, they go to sleep, that's it. I am fine with explaining as many things as needed, but I just need to know that the person is willing to listen. But if they're not...
Exactly. I just want to point out one last thing, why I think talking about religion is important, because we are affected by it every single day. You might not be affected by it, but we are affected by it every single day. If you have your first name Muhammad, you are 3 times less likely to get an interview call. It's a study.
But this is not because of religion, this is because of the racism.
The racism, prejudice.
No,
Yeah, because I'm sorry, I'm atheist, and I've been between many religions, and actually I was attacked because I am not believer. So I agree with you that when we talk about humanity and humanitarian things, we shouldn't mix it up with religion. Religion is completely out of it.
Exactly. So
if you want to discuss religion, you can discuss religion, but don't put it in the humanity, because there are humans who are not religious and they are connected to humanity, but not to your God or to whatever you believe. This is your private stuff.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's our private stuff, but if people have prejudice against it, we need to address it. That's the least thing.
Yeah, but don't mix it up two different.
Yeah, of course. You're
as well,
right.
I wouldn't mix up religion and spirituality, because I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual.
Yeah, of course. We can also talk about it. I also need a little bit of spirituality. So that's all, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will try to be shorter because we spent maybe so much time here. I was thinking, since my experience, everybody shared some stories, so I was thinking to start with how I started decoding Hasbara, not knowing it was Hasbara yet, because I had it at school. I studied international relations and diplomacy, and one of my teachers was Irena Kalhusova, so I got really first-hand Hasbara. And but because we didn't know as students really the history, we didn't study the history of the Middle East before, so we didn't even know. I didn't even come across the word Zionism when I was in my 20s or something. So I just wanted to ask you, well, by now you probably came across this a lot, but still, can you explain like how you perceive Zionism? Someone, how you see what contains the ideology, or we have to ask our Israeli friends.
The Jews have a right to go back to the promised land, or basically, if you're not promised, if they talk to the Zionists, they talk to someone who's not religious, they rather say Jews should go back to where they originally came from, is the place of origin. So Zionism is an ideology that basically says, yeah, they have a right to return and to have a place of their own, like a national state, because every small nation should have a national state, and live there in peace, because there is no peace in other lands for them. That's the I think main point of it.
Yeah, you agree?
I think it's like one viewpoint is maybe like the popular one, and second one is maybe if you learn more about it. So when you say what's your perspective, I think about this, that it's like there's some like common.
Well, you know, Natalie actually said there are these 50 shades of Zionism, and I was also to learn that there was these actually cultural Zionists, political Zionists, where you probably will know the name Herzl. What was his first name? Theodor Herzl, and then so-called revisionist. And I started actually with them because then with actually Jewish Voice for Peace in New York, where I first started discovering about Zionism and went for like half a year workshop with them. That was the first thing they gave us to read. Have you ever heard about Vladimir Jabotinsky, The Iron Wall? Yeah. Because that's where it all comes to now. That's how it was one of those, let's see, 3 shades of Zionism. If we say this cultural, this revisionist, this political Zionism, and revisionist. Revisionist was basically openly fascist. Jabotinsky was like a big fan of Mussolini. He even sent groups, Jewish groups, to train with in Italy, and so on. It's no conspiracy. You can find this information if you start just putting this information in either ChatGPT or internet. It will come. And you will definitely find this quote. And you know how it is said that Zionism, you're even going to be accused of anti-Semitism if you say that Zionism is colonialism, right? So this is from The Iron Wall, which Jabotinsky wrote already in 1923. There is no misunderstanding between Zionists and Arabs, but rather a natural colonial conflict. Every indigenous population in the world resists colonization as long as there is the slightest hope of avoiding the danger of being colonized. I don't know how more clear he could be. This is what the Arabs in Palestine are doing, and they will preserve as long as there remains a single spark of hope that they will be able to prevent the transformation of Palestine into the land of Israel. So it doesn't sound so peaceful, right? Like coming back to roots and living in peace with everyone else there. Also in 1919, there was President Wilson, American President Wilson, sent a so-called King Crane commission to Palestine to find out what the Zionists were up to. And the conclusion was that the Zionists are seeking the practically complete expropriation of the current non-Jewish inhabitants of Palestine. And here you have Ben Gurion, so the representative of, let's say, the so-called leftist or socialist Zionism, which you would expect that wasn't so colonial thinking, and so on. So one of his quotes, "Let us not ignore the truth between us. Politically, we are the aggressors and they are defending themselves. The land is theirs because they inhabit it." How honest. While we want to come and settle here, and in their view, we want to take their land away from them. Well, not just in their view. Behind Arab terrorism, there is a movement that is primitive but not devoid of idealism and self-sacrifice. And I will ask Natalie, because I'm just trying to show that in all these shades, basically, except maybe the cultural Zionism, if we can discuss it later, but also Herzl has this already in his diary, and from, what was it, 1895? 1895.
So all of this year?
Or maybe just the expropriation, and he basically says what I just said from Ben Gurion.
When we occupy the land, we shall bring immediate benefits to the state that receives us. We must expropriate gently the private property on the estates assigned to us. We shall try to spirit the penniless population across the border by procuring employment for it in the transit countries, and we're still trying that, while denying it any employment in our own country.
Yeah, the property owners will come over to our side. Both the process of expropriation and the removal of the poor must be carried out discreetly and circumspectly.
Thank you. So I want to point out this book to you because it's really precious for these quotes. It's by a Palestinian historian and Noor Salha, and all the new historians, who are so celebrated, like Ilan Pape, Morris, Avi Schleim, and so on. Everyone is citing this book because he did the research before, of course, and Palestinians knew what happened to them, but also knew what to look for, where to look. So there are all these citations from political meetings, documents. They were, but it's not like they were secret about it. A lot of it is also from not emails, a mail. People writing each other. Many of them were still in Europe. Leadership was in Palestine, and so on. So here you will find a lot of evidence, and I just was able to download this book actually online and print it here. So I very much recommend it to you. And Salim was saying, this is another thing, I don't have it here because it came to my mind. I wanted to emphasize it as well. Salim said that it didn't start October 7, it started 48. But actually it started much before. You saw these dates, you know. And in this book, Balfour's Shadow, we will get to the quote there, but you will find evidence that basically in 1920s, thousands of Palestinian peasants were already expelled, and also actually there is another quote from the cultural Zionist Ahad Ham, who Masaryk, actually the Czech president, was very much fond of. And in 1891, he went to Palestine because, you know, one of the ancient Dehasbara, so-called, was that it's a land without people for people without land. And this guy, Ahad Ham, wrote, also, if you can write it down because I don't have it here, The Truth from Eretz Israel. It's very short, like a letter. He wrote it as an article. And in that article, I repeat, 1891, he is describing the settlers like it was today's Ben-Gvir's settlers, what they were doing already in Palestine. And he's ashamed of it. That's why there was then, in the collective of cultural Zionists, they were protesting basically these other two groups because they were like openly, aggressively colonial. So it's a matter of fact, of history, that this was a plus. There was, of course, they called their agencies in Palestine. Wait, there is another quote. Colonial Department, but there was another here. Population Transfer Committee. I mean, what were they planning? Not very secret about that. And that's 1937. Jewish agents in Palestine established the Population Transfer Committee. Ben-Gurion said at the time, support the compulsory transfer of the population. I see nothing immoral about it. Weizmann, director of the Jewish Agency's Colonial Department. I mean, were they anti-Semitic to call themselves, you know, for what they were? It must be clear among us that there is no room for both peoples in this country. The only solution is Palestine, at least Western Palestine, west of the Jordan River, without Arabs. And there is no other way than to transfer the Arabs from here to neighboring countries, to relocate them all. And this goes on, and like virtually all of the leadership had this in mind. And another one who documents this very well with actually what happened on the ground in 48 is Ilan Pape, of course. And this has been translated to Czech, so etnické češtění Palestiny, if you want to educate yourself or your friends or your teachers, think about this book. Okay, another Hasbara. Have you heard about IHRA, the new definition of anti-Semitism?
Yeah.
Which basically conflates with criticizing Israel or Zionism for what it is.
And someone argued if we look upon this definition, then what is not anti-Semitism?
Exactly. So I'm just gonna take two things from there. New definition of anti-Semitism. It says, for example, denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination. That means claiming that the existence of Israel is a racist endeavor. That should be anti-Semitic. Okay? So again, you can go through, a lot of it is here, not in this book, by Tony Greenstein, a Jewish activist and He does amazing workshops and online. I recommend you follow him or see his website. It's not only about how racist it was, but consider also that Zionism, when it was coming to be relevant at that time, racism was a norm. Eugenics was a norm. So I'm not saying they were okay, but that it's not anti-Semitic or racist to just call them out for their racism. And they were very explicit about it. What shocked me was, not anymore though, when I have that quote here. Okay, I will take it in order. So first, also at the definition is also another point is comparing Israeli policies to that of the Nazis. That's supposed to be anti-Semitic as well. Okay, and also to tell you this definition was accepted in the Czech parliament and is being pushed and accepted in many parliaments around Europe and being applied by institutions, even schools. So we can be, silent, called anti-Semites for bringing this reality from history, historical record. Because are you going to call Hannah Arendt or Albert Einstein and dozens of Jewish intellectuals anti-Semitic for writing an open letter in 1948 when they protested the visit of Menachem Begin, leader of the Freedom Party, Haherut, which emerged from the Zionist terrorist organizations Irgun, Zavile, Leumi, party that later merged with Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party. That's why we're like, this is not just history. This is still role models, or this is people in political thought who today's right looks up to. So from the letter, one of the most frightening political phenomena of our times is the existence of the Freedom Party, Tanuad Haherut, in the newly created state of Israel, a political party that resembles fascist and Nazi parties in its organization, methods, political philosophy, and social appeal. It was formed from members and supporters of the former terrorist right-wing and chauvinistic organization, Irgun, again, in Palestine. The true character of this terrorist party can be recognized by its actions. And this last line is haunting. Based on its previous deeds, and I'm not reading the whole letter, of course. Again, I urge you to go online and find this letter. They're describing the massacre in Deir Yassin, which happened already on April 9th, 1948. So months before Israel called independence and the war with the other Arab countries started. So they're saying, based on its previous deeds, we can judge what to expect in the future. This is what's happening. And where I was going before about Zionism and racism, you probably never heard of Arthur Rupin. I would be surprised, but maybe you guys, yeah. But first time, it was in Haaretz, actually. It was in Haaretz. And this guy was he was like the father of the settlements, the project of settlements, but also in education, in Hebrew education. He was a sociologist, he was at the Hebrew University, and Tony even says that he was the single most important Zionist leader for the community in the Palestine, the first 4 decades of the 20th century, so pretty long. He was a German-born lawyer of the Zionist national settlement. And this is what I just told you, that he was so key to the whole project till basically 1943 when he died. He was one of the leaders, father of the Hebrew education, Hebrew culture in general. Indeed, his outlook influenced Moshe Dayan, the general of Six-Day War, if you remember, so on. So Rupin's belief that the realization of Zionism demanded racial purity among the Jews. In part, his views were inspired by the works of anti-Semitic thinkers, including some of the original Nazi ideologists. And again, this is not just one, I'm not just like taking one Zionist, you know, and maybe he's somehow crazy, and you know, there are many of them. And again, I urge you, this book is full of this evidence. But it gets worse. After the Holocaust, Israeli historiographers tended to play down this embarrassing information as much totally. However, Tel Aviv University accepted a doctoral thesis by a researcher named Ethan Bloom. Again, you can find by his name the thesis, who found inter alia that not only was Rupin influenced by the theories that engaged engendered Nazi racism, he also had an impact on their formulation. And this, I didn't write this. This is actually from the Haaretz article written by Tom Segev, who's like very respected Israeli historian. And this is from the thesis of this Ethan Bloom. Okay, so I'm trying to give you arguments when you argue, or also hints where to look when you're arguing about this. Because this is what I get a lot online from people when arguing. And you will have even Czech experts, let's say, on this topic, but I don't mean those media experts. I had, for example, argument about this with Marek Čeka, who's really like specialized in Middle East. And he wouldn't accept that Zionism was racism, that it had racist part to it. So I mean, it wasn't only racist, it was much worse. And also you should know there were in that time, Jewish people were organizing, and for example, Bund, who were really like leftist and humanistic. You know, it's not like Zionism defines Jewish people of the time. It's the opposite. When there was the first Zionist Congress, the Jewish community, was it Munich, I think? It was supposed to be in yeah, but they had to move it from Munich because the Jewish community there protested. They were very much against Zionism because it was alienating Jewish people from their countries. You know, when Balfour Declaration was passed in 1917, the only member of the British government, Jewish member of the government, argued against it, that it was anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
Because he was.
Yeah.
Balfour was absolutely anti-Semite. You know, in 1905 he supported the law. 1905 he had the act. What was it called? It was basically to stop the Jewish emigration to Britain.
No, that one.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
And he was openly anti-Semitic.
Actually, and Europe was anti-Semitic for centuries.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that Zionism is not something what defined it. Jewish community in a whole, like in that time, and it still doesn't. There's still, and I don't know if you know people. I didn't hear before about Bund. You know, it was. That's what I'm trying to like get you to, write down and maybe search it. Have you heard about Mark Edelman, for example? Mark Edelman was one of the 5 leaders of the uprising in the Warsaw Ghetto. and he was anti-Zionist, and he was Bundist, you know. And in Israel, they wouldn't want to hear about this man. And what really became also cult in this Israeli Zionism is this militaristic culture, and also what I heard from many Israelis, and actually one historian as well, who lived through it. He said that, you know, when they moved to Israel after Holocaust, there was this humiliation coming from the people, because they would tell these people who came from Europe, you know, from the concentration camps, they were despised because they didn't fight. Because what the Zionists in Israel were trying to do, they were trying to build a new Jew, and there was a lot of anti-Semitism among the Zionists. They were not in real opposition to European anti-Semitism, because it was fueling their project. You know, so someone said that the fuel of Zionism is European anti-Semitism. Yes?
I'm thinking about, like, when I was like trying to learn something about this, I understood it. I thought that the main connection between like the Nazi, fascist, anti-Jewish kind of ideology and the Zionist ideology is that the fascists want the Jews out of Germany or out of Europe, and so I thought it was so funny, kind of like this, like the common goal is
to get the Jews out of Europe.
So we're going to and I don't know if you mentioned that, because you're talking about it more like the intricacies, or maybe also the
Yes, I will give you one amazing, I'm not gonna lose time now, but I had it here, but write down the name, Rudolf Vrba. Okay, have you heard about this guy? He managed with another guy, they were two, to escape from Auschwitz. And I found a recording of him interview by Holocaust Memorial in US. And he says there that for him and others, Zionists were the same enemies as the Nazis. And he was saying they were sitting on the Judenrats, which means those committees which were making the lists for the Nazis, like who's going to go for the transport, and they would get exempt from wearing the yellow star, or had all kinds of privileges. Yeah, exactly. So this comes from someone who escaped Auschwitz. I mean, was he anti-Semite? Did he make it up? And again, Ilan Pape told me that Ilan organized Rudolf Vrba's talk in Israel, and they had to move it to like somebody's living room, because nobody wanted to hear from this guy. Okay, he published a book, it wouldn't be published in Israel, of course. The same for Mark Edelman. He was criticizing Israel very much, and he actually called the Palestinian resistance, he put them on the same, he compared them to the Jewish resistance to Nazis. So yeah, shocking things for someone who haven't heard it before. So let's move forward. I will maybe skip this one, or just say shortly, you know how they say that Palestinians did not exist, did not aspire for their independence. Arafat and the PLO invented Palestinians. You heard this? I get this a lot. Like they did not exist, at all. But of course they existed, and there is another book by Noor Masalha who documents like 4,000 years of people of Palestine history. But if you want to look at like the European way of recognizing that some people exist, there is even this recognition. There has been, or was, and it was within the League of Nations in 1919. There was a covenant of the League of Nations, and it basically said that what was then the Ottoman Empire, you know, countries like Syria, Iraq, and Palestine, and Lebanon was there as well, that they should become after the mandates, because they were, you know, they were under British and French mandate, they should gain their independence after. But of course, the Brits like to really promise land to whoever for whatever. So in Palestine, there was in 1915, there was the McMahon Promise, when here Brits promised Arab independence to Sharif Hussein in Ibn Ali, the ruler of Mecca, leading Arab notable under Ottoman rule. In Mecca, McMahon Promise, Brits were seeking help against the Ottoman Empire. You probably all heard of Lawrence of Arabia and all this stuff. So there was something like that. Then there was the Sykes-Picot, 1916. You heard about that? That's when they betrayed this promise, and with friends, they basically decided who's going to have which part of Middle East under them, like colonial, post-colonialism. And that's why Palestinians, they were, so here in this document, basically, there is the foundation for Palestinians in our like European, you know, international law or whatever, that they were supposed to also get this independence, but they didn't because British colonialism and Western interests.
Well, there is a record from League of Nations actually.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't happen because of the First World War, because then after the First World War nobody cared.
Of course. Why would they care about some brown people down in the south? Would they promise them independence? And actually there were Palestinians and many Arabs who fought on the side of the ally. That's also what many people don't know, because they were also had these promises. Okay, let's move. The Zionists wanted to live in peace, accepted the UN partition of Palestine in 1947, agreed, Arab refused, lost Palestine at war. I'm sure you have came across this. So
actually, that time Czechoslovakia was feeding Israel with weapons.
Of course, yes. And not just that. I recently.
Czechs and Slovaks, they don't know about it nowadays.
They know they built.
It was approved by Stalin.
Yes. But the guns came from Czechoslovakia.
Yeah. But this is what the Zionists here openly built their special relationship with Czech people on this. So it's not like it's not known. They're trying to advertise this all the time.
No, I mean, the Czechs, they don't know about the guns, because if they wouldn't get the guns from Czechoslovakia, the Israelis would probably not win against Arabs.
I heard that too, but Ilan was saying that it was not as significant as they're inflating it to make us feel so special. Or we're making
from England, because that time was the mandate of...
it was definitely helpful, but no.
In Israel, that it's quite appreciated. There's a square
yes.
The massacre for that exact reason. But it's important to remember, like, Israel likes to tell the story that there was the people fighting, defending Israel were fighting few against many. But
the opposite.
When you do the actual count, Israel had more soldiers. Not counting the soldiers of King Hussein in Jordan, who pretty much didn't participate.
Well, yeah, there was agreement. He sold out Palestine.
Of course, like the fact they had warplanes from Czechoslovakia helped, but they were fighting with more soldiers and better equipped anyway.
No, the Israelis, they didn't have that much equipment after Second World War. And the Jordan, as you mentioned, fine, it was end of the Second World War. all the Arabic countries around, they care about themselves because they started to have their nation, their states. So nobody cared about the Palestinians at the time.
Maybe a little point about it. First of all, yes, the Israelis actually had better equipment, much better, especially vehicles and airplanes. The Arabs didn't have that much. And how many of the Arab regimes thought about Palestine was like, there is this land. It was always part of like a bigger empire. You know, it was like semi-autonomous, let's say, but it was always part of a bigger empire. So everyone was thinking like, why should this be like a national state? No, it should be ours. You know, it should go either Egypt or Jordan and so on. But they were reluctant to fight the Israelis because the Israelis actually had much better weapons and had kind of a support, especially diplomatic support of the West. Because especially after the Holocaust and due to the lobbying of the Jews in America, of the wealthy, wealthy elites, that lived there, the American diplomacy was working very hard to
and also Soviet
as well. They were competing like with each other. So they were like pushing everyone to like recognize Israel. So the Arabs kind of felt this pressure, and this all influenced, their behavior, which led to them, not being so good in fighting and so on.
Yeah.
I don't want to speculate which was like more and so on. I think you need to open archives, for this. And
you need to open archives because you're saying Arab regimes, but at that time there weren't Arab regimes. At that time even Egypt was under the mandate of Brits.
Okay. Yeah, but
so it wasn't Egypt like
but
today.
There was like a puppet regime, like it was. There was a puppet regime in Jordan.
It was under the British mandate still. They were not free nation, not even Egypt at that time.
They were not free nation. But so, one of the things that you hear about, like the first war in 1948, was that, for example, the Egyptian army was already like semi-independent. They were actually buying their own weapons,
from Brits.
From Brits, and they were buying like weapons and ammunition that didn't fit them, at the orders of Brits, but they already were doing it, on their own somehow. And some of these soldiers already wanted to like be free, and push for something,
but you need to understand that all these nations, even Egypt, even Jordan, even other Arabic countries today, they wanted to have their own state, so they didn't care about Palestine.
That's kind of always true. I mean, like, it's very rare for a regime to actually care about any people, like its own people, other people. Like,
there was no, for example, plan to respond, because it was obvious that this was going to happen, this ethnic cleansing. And among Arab states, there was not a plan to go and respond to it. It was only after, and this was before Israel was called for independence, May 14, 1948, because there was such influx of Palestinian refugees because of the ethnic cleansing. The Arab regimes were pushed by their public, because they could see what was happening, to send the armies. But it was not a plan.
I really would not use the Arab regimes.
Okay,
when these countries were developed, it was after the Second World War.
Yeah. Okay. So Arab nations. Arab nations. Okay.
Completely different.
Okay. Sorry, you're right. It's important. Words are important.
When the people look at it like that time, they already existed, these Arab countries.
Yeah, they were absolutely. Yeah, Ilan was saying like they were absolutely, not coordinated. The Zionists are always making it look like, they had to defend themselves it was basically a miracle because they defended themselves from all these big armies, and it's completely nonsense.
Unfortunately, the Irgun and all the Jewish military at that time were trained by
Brits. And Czechoslovaks as well.
Trained by Brits.
Of course not. No, and also it's important to recognize that it was the Brits who won actually the 1948 for the Zionists when they crashed the Palestinian Arab uprising in 1936-9. They basically, either killed or expelled or imprisoned any Palestinian resistance which there was.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to point this one out from 1928. You know how it's always portrayed like, those greedy Arabs, they didn't want to share the land, with their Jewish brothers and so on. So in 1928 already, British authorities suggested creating a sort of legislative council or representative body for Palestine, in which Jews, who were then only 20% of the population, and Arabs would be granted formal parity, so equal political rights, and representation. So despite Arabs being the demographic majority, absolute, majority. Can you imagine that in some country here in Europe, somebody would accept that? If you had refugees coming from Syria now, let's say, or Ukraine. Okay, let's take Ukraine. Can you imagine that now we would say that we shall have a new parliament and give the Ukrainian refugees the same political power equivalent to the local population, and because the Palestinians were already so desperate and they knew what was happening, they understood what was happening. The Palestinian National Conference, that's another thing. There were these Palestinian organizations which were never told they existed. It's like they didn't care about politics, they didn't do anything, but of course they did. And then it was the Palestinian National Conference, the umbrella of representing Arab political opinion at the time, through deeply opposed Zionism and Balfour declaration was prepared and accepted. The Palestinians accepted this, absolutely unequal for them and unacceptable from our point of view today, or anybody's point of view. They accepted it. And the Zionists, I don't say it here, but Ilan said that they were pretending, they thought that Palestinians were refuse it. So they were pretending like they were going to accept it. And when they were shocked that Palestinians accepted it, they refused it. And right there already, you can again see that their aim was not to just, live in peace there. Their aim was always to grab the whole land of Palestine. So they rejected it because it would froze them in equal numbers with Arabs. Because it would also stop the immigration. They feared it would prevent the Jewish national home from evolving into statehood. So, and this also led to the 1928 riots. Again, Zionists will tell you, there was this Palestinian Arab hostilities, like out of nothing. They were just aggressive Arabs against poor Jewish immigrants who just came to live in peace. So historians will actually tell you that this rejection of this British proposal by Zionists was one of the key political triggers then that also combined with what I mentioned and what you can find here evidence of this expropriation of Palestinian peasantry already in those years. So here you have the numbers. In 1920s, more than 8,700 Palestinian peasants were expelled from 22 villages in Mar Ibn Amr area of Galilee, now known as Jersey Valley. And in the years preceding the Great Arab Revolution, oh shit, sorry. But I believe it said that in those years, it was already 2/3 of arable land where you can farm. The Palestinians were expelled from that. And it's not like the Jews or the Zionists bought it. That's another thing. And you can find in British census that in 1947, Zionist Jews bought less than 7% of the land in Palestine. So another hasbara there, historical. We bought the land, they sold it, their problem. Bullshit. It was like if the Russians in Karlovy Vary would say, we own this city, basically, so let's take the whole land, of Czech Republic. Oh, thank you.
Don't give them ideas.
So expropriated, evicted from one third of all arable land in Palestine. By 1931, 20,000 Palestinian families had already been expelled. So yeah, it definitely started before 1948.
But I'm sorry, here you really need to mention that 20s and 30s were because of British, because they bombed the Arab villages, they killed the Arab people there. Not exactly really yet the Zionists in Israel.
This was the response to the riots, yeah, definitely. That's what I said, they totally crashed. I said that the 1948 was actually won by Brits in crashing the Arab-Palestinian uprising in 1936-39.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But I'm saying about 20s, 30s, like there was.
Oh, even before.
And this was purely British thing.
Yeah, colonialism and all its, aggressivity and murderness. So another Zionist Dehasbarization, and this is the last one. The Zionists did not plan ethnic cleansing. They were just defending themselves in 1948. So you will find again in Ilan's book and anywhere on internet, look for Plan Dalet. In March 10th, 1948, Zionist leadership agreed on a plan for ethnic cleansing, Plan Dalet. There you have April 9th, Deir Yassin massacre, one of the most horrendous, but actually when you read this book, you will find even much worse, like Davai Mech and others. But this one was very, very publicized by the Zionist terrorists, and it was aiming to put horror into people and make the ethnic cleansing more swift, more easier. That they had people who the Zionists actually mapped the Palestinian villages very well. They knew exactly who were the leaders in the villages, why this village was more important than other, had resources or something. So when they were planning to go there, they would just tell somebody they're planning to go there to scare them that they're gonna, just wipe out the village. So some people would run, of course, just for their life. Many people were massacred. There were death marches, like from Lida all the way to West Bank. Many people died on those marches, children, elderly, something like what's been happening in Gaza past 2 years, when they're just calling for evacuation from one side to another, and the people are just like supposed to run from one place to another. Many people are just refusing to move anymore because they were right in the beginning in Gaza when they were called, that they should evacuate to somewhere to safety. They would be bombed on the roads on this evacuation. So yeah, this definitely started much before October 7. And one other fact to completely dismantle this argument that Zionists were only defending themselves in 48 after the Arab armies, invaded. So before May 14, the Zionists expelled over 350,000 Palestinians from 220 towns and villages. In the end, it was over 500 villages which got either wiped out or just expelled. They blew up many villages so the people couldn't come back. So that's another, when they're trying to say, no, we did it was not ethnic cleansing, so why you didn't let them come back? Why were you blowing up their villages, And in those years after 48, they actually killed around 5,000 people who were trying to cross back from the refugee camps. And this is from the book by Benny Morris, who started as a new historian but turned very, very Zionist, very fascist. And this is what he got in the archives as well. And there's one last, I will end here, but you will also totally disarm people who are trying to tell you, because this is such a powerful book they're not attacking the book or what's written in the book. They're attacking Ilan as a scholar and saying, you know, his facts are, he's not professional and I don't know what bullshit. So then you can again open Haaretz or Google Malmap. Malmap is a division of Israeli Ministry of Defense. And after the new Israeli historians published many books, it's not just this one, it's many books which basically document what really happened in 48 based on declassified Israeli documents. So this division, Malmap, of Israeli Ministry of Defense, so people from this division are going around the archives in Israel and classifying, closing these documents again. So people cannot go and, you know, researchers cannot go and check on them again. And there is a article interview with the head of this division. And at one point, the interviewer is asking, like, what's the point of, you know, classifying something which has been already, you know, opened and books written about it and so on. And the guy just says, well, it's perceived as it would be very complicated. You know, the reaction could be hostile from the Arab population if they learn this. And you know, it's not the same when you have a book published or scholar publishing a book and being able to go and find these documents and verify them. It's not the same like when the documents are not there. You know, so they think they're going to undermine what's been already declassified and brought to the public eye by just sealing, classifying the facts again. So there's like so much evidence that what we're being presented by Hasbara historically and nowadays the same, that it's very overwhelming. So I chose only these 5 Hasbara points, but of course we're exposed to many, many other of these points, and we hopefully will do other workshops, and we are recording it for people who couldn't come. But thank you everyone who came, and maybe next time you want to join us and tell us your experience with Hasbara, because I think it's one of the most powerful turning points for someone who believed the stuff, and we have some people like that among us who believe all the stuff and then started researching it for themselves and realizing, oh my God, all this time I believed like total, you know, lies, and it's so easy to disclose them. So, but it's a lot of work sometimes. So hopefully a lot of people, especially students, will have time for this research and join us in this declassification for other people. Thank you so much, and hope to see you. Oh, and I have to tell you, next week, oh my God, everyone knows that Moin Rabbani is going to be here next week. Please do whatever you can to make it, because this Palestinian scholar is one of the best and most informed, close friend of Norman Finkelstein. If you have noticed, right after October 7, he was in that grand debate with him for hours against Morris, who I mentioned here today. This is another Israeli historian. And so Moin is coming to Berlin, and he informed me that if we want to have him in Prague, so I was delighted. So we have actually 3 talks with him on Monday about the Hasbara, about the 2-state solution, you know, because it's also pushed everywhere by the Czech politicians and in the media that it was the Palestinians, of course, who kept refusing 2-state solution. It's not true. It was the other way around, but with Moin you will hear the facts. That's Monday in Acid Coffee. Tuesday we will be at the Faculty of Arts, Filozofická fakulta. It will be about Palestinian resistance, basically, about the national movement. So I believe a lot of people are, you know, no PLO maybe, Fatah, Hamas, but there is much more to understand about them. And the third one, Wednesday, will be at Novotného Lávka, and that will be on Gaza. And Moin is writing a book about it, Gaza Apocalypse, you know, how we got there and what to expect. And we will be joined for the debate after with Zora Hesová and Pavel Barsha, Czech politologist. It will be, of course, in English, everything, so everyone who's here will be fine. Thank you so much, and next time. And Solidarity March on 29th. That's also on our Instagram, Facebook, Friends of Palestine. Yeah, and please come see the books. All of them are available. Mega books are really good in bringing English critical literature. So you will find Balfour Shadow. It's about the